Right, well, this is news that I was not actually expecting. The Noah Hawley Star Trek movie is not dead. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. We had heard, okay, now it's not a massive surprise that it's not dead, because we had heard that they were pausing things, deciding where to go, then moving forward, right? And that was from Stacey Snider, I believe it is. A former 20th Century Fox executive, moved over and was handling the Star Trek franchise. But I didn't think we'd hear an update this soon. But maybe off the back end of that announcement, that statement, that they went, I'll tell you what, we need to get a move on with this. There's a lot of reports coming through, a lot of people are excited, and a lot of people want it to move ahead. Maybe that's why, who knows. It's really naive to think that studios don't actually watch videos. They have a whole PR department that actually handles these kind of things and watches this stuff. So, not specifically this one, but FYI. Moving on. Now, Noah Hawley's movie is an interesting one. Obviously, famous for Fargo. He's an interesting chap to have on board. And he's a good chap to have on board. So his one not being dead is actually really, really good. And we do have an update on what it's supposed to entail. So this article is linked down below. Check it out. Read along with me. But the state of Star Trek on the movie side is murky at best. Plans were obviously being greenlit and then cancelled. Now, we'd heard this so much. We had Quentin Tarantino, Noah Hawley. We had copious amounts of bloody TV series rumoured and all that kind of crap. So it's no surprise, that things have been in development, pausing, moving forwards, pausing, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. We've been hearing about it forever. But Hawley's one was an interesting one. Now, Hawley did provide an update for his film, which was previously on hold. Again, that's confirmed by, I'm fairly certain it was Stacey Snider. But he did an interview with Variety, which is, a good source. A very good source. It's direct from him, and it is his interview. So, Variety's Daniel Holloway explains the film was put on hold following the merger between Viacom and CBS and the company's new president, Emma Watts. That's the one, Emma Watts. Over the company's content plans and strategy. Now, Holloway also notes that the project that has a finished script was put on hold just as Hawley had begun hiring designers. So they'd fully greenlit it then. Actually, if you're hiring designers, they had fully greenlit it. It was on board. Now, while the film was on hold, Holloway does emphasise that Hawley tells him his Star Trek treatment is still alive, just in stasis. So it's on hold then, isn't it? So it's paused, right? Yeah. Hawley also revealed some details on his film, implying that it will feature a new crew. So he explained, we're not doing Kirk and we're not doing Picard. It's a start from scratch that then allows us to do what we did with Fargo, where for the first 3 hours you go, oh, it really has nothing to do with the movie. And then you find the money, so you reward the audience with a thing that they love. I don't think that's a bad take. I don't think that's a bad way to go. It sounds like it's Star Trek, but obviously a new crew. And maybe they stumble across the Enterprise, or they stumble across Discovery, maybe. Christ. But yeah, I don't hate this. This sounds quite interesting. But it's definitely on hold. It's still on hold. The fact that they're saying it's in stasis is very clearly still on hold. Now, back in January, Hawley previously implied that his film would feature the most recent film cast that included Chris Pine as Kirk and Zachary Quinto as Spock. Hawley told Deadline, I have my own take on Star Trek. Going back to what I loved about the series Next Generation, when a lot of franchises focus on might makes right, Star Trek is about exploration and humanity at its best, and diversity and creative problem solving. I don't think that's bad. I think that's a pretty good way of taking on Star Trek. I mean, it's always been pretty diverse. It's always been pretty, problem solving. But you have to get the utopia correct. You have to get the optimism, the positive attitude in the universe. You have to get it right. Now, Hawley continued further and said there's nothing better than that moment when William Shatner puts on his reading glasses and lowers Khan's shields. It doesn't cost anything, but it's that triumphant feeling about smarting your enemy. For me, it's about to getting to those elements of the show. I don't necessarily find action in and of itself interesting unless it's story. And then obviously in January he said further about no finished script, specifically saying, so it's early days, I'm still talking with Paramount and I have a take and I got to write a script. So from January through to September, they finished the script that we're looking to get designers, now on hold. It's interesting. Now in February, a rumour surfaced on 4chan that Hawley's Star Trek film had been rejected, and that rumour claimed that the film was rejected because Paramount deemed the project too Trekkie, which I covered this and I remember just going, I can believe it. I can actually believe it, because this is Paramount, the people who have been dealing with the, well, it's all part and parcel of the same thing, but dealing with the Discovery and all this kind of nonsense, and it was just garbage. And I could genuinely believed it, but that's in February. Now that's not to say, obviously they've got a finished script now, so very clearly from February to September a finished script has occurred, and they may have adjusted things, for not to be too Trekkie. So it doesn't actually debunk that, by the way. A lot of people jump at this and go, oh, gotcha. It doesn't actually debunk that at all. Now, the same rumour also claimed that Paramount officials were also reportedly enraged. It showed a lot of similarities to the Orville, which they see as an inferior competitor that nonetheless is eating up their market share, which, well, I mean, it is, basically. Now, the rumour also detailed that the film was not set in Abrams' Bad Robot timeline with Pine as Kirk, but apparently in a canonical 1966 to 2005 era with a mostly new cast, which is true, as per what he's already said. So that's interesting, isn't it? Now, in August, Variety's Dave McNary reported that Paramount Pictures has decided to pause on making another Star Trek. I mean, August to September, Christ. So nothing has changed from there. Like, it is still on hold, but he's just revealing details. So again, no gotcha here. Like, it is still on hold. Now, McNary added that sources indicated that Watts has put the brakes on the Hawley project in order to get more clarity on how to handle the next Star Trek movie, but added that the project has not been ditched. So he's literally in a state of, it's not even, I guess it's a form of production hell, maybe pre-production, because they're still working towards it, but they're not moving ahead just yet. Which I don't know whether that's good or bad, to be honest, because it sounds like he had a draft, the too Trekkie one. Sounds like he had that draft in January and February. It was then ditched, and then he had to make some adjustments. And then in August they were like, yeah, good, but we're pausing now. Sorry, bro. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. Now, no one really knows why Paramount just seemed to be sitting on this project by Hawley. It's speculation, but this could likely be due diligence and a last-ditch effort to keep the Chris Pine-led movies going into a fourth film with that group instead. Which, yeah, I completely agree with this article. It does make some sense. With fans having developed a familiarity with that crew through 3 movies, it stands to reason that if things can be worked out, Chris Pine, Chris Hemsworth, and the rest of the cast, they would go with the latter. Yeah, they would. But I also feel if this is not connected to it, do it as well. Do it as well. Why not? Star Trek as a brand should actually stand on its own 2 feet outside of Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth, right? Yeah, I'm sure we can all agree. So why wouldn't you just do this as well as that? Green light this. Do it. Keep going with that. And maybe you'll see that the hunger for Star Trek is actually there. People want to see proper, actual Star Trek, not Picard or Discovery. They want to see actual Star Trek. And if you can capture that, then you're going to get people on board for a 4th movie with Pine and Hemsworth, the 2 Chris's, right? Surely. That's my take on it. Anyway, now Star Trek 4 originally planned for Hemsworth to reprise his role as George Kirk and team up with Pine's Jim Kirk in some way. However, of course, that, paused, and there was a massive dispute over payment. Basically, they wanted what they were owed in contract, and then Paramount were looking to decrease that. Which, whether you agree or disagree, it's contractually obligated, I guess, so they're looking to change it. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I'd really like to see a Noah Hawley take on Star Trek. The point is, and it's the same, I really would want to see a Quentin Tarantino, but the thing is that it can't get any worse than it is, can it? It can't get any goddamn worse. right? Can't get any worse in the series. So just do it. And greenlight Hawleys, because I think you'll get people on board for a fourth one as well. Do it. If they're not connected, just do it. Why not? This is why people are so afraid. They're just like, no, definitely got to be connected. Franchise, interconnected universe. No, just greenlight them. But let me know your thoughts down below. I've been Mr. H. Take care.